The term virtualization comes from the word virtualize, which means to create a software-based version of something that is physical. So for example, if you have a group of servers and you turn all that hardware into the bits and bytes of software, you've just virtualized those servers. Same for storage. If you generate software versions of those hard disks, you now have virtual storage. And we can continue expanding that same concept to other parts of the enterprise, like the network and more. When you put virtual servers, virtual storage, and a virtual network together, you have achieved a virtualized infrastructure. Why virtualize? One of the main drivers of virtualization has been cost savings. If you get all the data center functionality you need without having to buy all that hardware, you end up saving a lot of money. But there are also big gains in efficiency and speed because data can travel much faster if it's not tied down to physical limitations. Of course, there are always going to be some physical components to a virtualized environment, but these physical components will be much fewer than they would be if there was no virtualization. So one of the main benefits is all the hardware you don't have to buy. And then there are enormous savings in energy consumption as a result. As you can see, there's a tremendous cost difference between a virtualized environment and a physical one. That's why virtualization has now become the IT standard of computing. Now let's look at virtualization in more detail. The fundamental building block of a virtual infrastructure is the virtual machine. What is a virtual machine, or VM? A virtual machine is an isolated software container that runs its own operating system and applications as if it were a physical computer. It behaves exactly like a physical computer and contains its own virtual motherboard with a BIOS, serial ports, CD/DVD drive, CPU, RAM, hard disks, and network interface cards. An operating system loaded in a VM can't tell the difference between a virtual machine and a physical machine, nor can applications or other computers on a network. Even the virtual machine thinks it's a real computer. Nevertheless, a virtual machine is composed entirely of software and contains no hardware components whatsoever. VMware virtualization works by inserting a thin layer of software on top of the x86 hardware. This thin layer is called the hypervisor. Some hypervisors sit on top of the operating system instead of the hardware, but this results in much less efficiency. In either case, the hypervisor generates virtual machines, supplying them with all the hardware resources they need. The following are the major features of VMware virtual machines. A virtual machine is encapsulated, isolated, compatible with all x86 hardware and software, and hardware independent. Select each feature for information. As mentioned previously, virtual machines are the building blocks of the virtual infrastructure. You can say that you have a virtual infrastructure when your compute, your network, and your storage have all been virtualized. The virtualization of a physical infrastructure is brought about by two key elements: abstraction and pooling. VMware solutions abstract the physical components of the infrastructure, the servers, the storage, the network, and make them virtual. Then the servers, along with their network and storage resources, are brought together into a unified pool that can be used by applications when and where they're needed. As a result, a business need can be met anywhere, anytime, and potentially on any computing device, regardless of the operating system or physical resources. That is the power of the virtual infrastructure. As mentioned, you can think of a cloud as a virtualized IT infrastructure that enables IT to optimize scalability and speed of their environment, automate tasks to manage IT services, and offer many self-service functions. VMware gives customers a fully virtualized infrastructure governed by a comprehensive cloud management platform. You reach the fullest potential of cloud when you enable self-service to internal customers and automation to IT, elements that are delivered by VMware's cloud management platform. Self-service and automation lead to greater efficiency for the business, because things get done much more quickly than ever before. We can illustrate the power of self-service and automation by comparing a fully realized cloud to a vending machine. Let's say a developer wants a new database server, so she makes a request through software just as if she were pressing the buttons on a vending machine. The request and its fulfillment are automated by the cloud, which contains all the resources just like the vending machine does. It processes her request and provides her the database server almost immediately. This is a lot different than the old days when the developer had to contact IT and IT needed to take days or weeks to fulfill her request. Here, your request can be fulfilled in minutes, whether it be servers, more memory, more storage, or any other virtual resource. You can also set it up so that the developer or her department gets billed for the resource. So as you see, adding self-service and automation makes customers realize the fullest potential of their cloud, providing them and their end users with the greatest possible benefits. There are three main types of clouds: private, public, and hybrid. Let's first look at the private cloud. In the private cloud, the cloud infrastructure is both physically and virtually isolated. The cloud infrastructure can be hosted on-premises or by a third-party provider, but either way, the entire infrastructure is entirely isolated from that of any other business. This is the most secure type of cloud, so it's the one preferred for mission-critical applications and for businesses that have many security regulations to comply with. VMware provides all the software necessary to produce the most powerful, efficient, and cost-effective private cloud possible. In the public cloud, the cloud infrastructure is physically shared with other organizations by a third party that sells cloud services to the general public. The customer pays a third-party provider for public cloud services, and the customer accesses these over the Internet. Public cloud is the most economical type of cloud. However, since it's accessed over the Internet and it physically shares its resources with other organizations, it's not as secure as a private cloud. VMware has its own public cloud platform called vCloud Air, allowing customers to migrate their existing virtual machines to the VMware public cloud or to start up new ones directly in this cloud. In the hybrid cloud, some parts of the virtual environment are hosted in a private cloud infrastructure that's physically and virtually isolated, but other parts of the environment are in a public cloud that is hosted by a third-party provider and shared with other organizations. This working combination of private and public cloud creates the hybrid cloud. Ideally, workloads will be able to move in and out between the private and public cloud as needed, and there would be one common cloud platform to manage both private and public so that it all works seamlessly like one cloud. There are a lot of benefits to hybrid cloud. Having a hybrid cloud strategy allows you to keep your sensitive data and mission-critical workloads on premises for security. At the same time, it allows you to put your second and third-tier workloads in the public cloud for the significant cost savings. And it also brings flexibility, as spikes in usage can be handled by the public cloud resources as needed. So the hybrid cloud offers the best of both worlds, the security of a private cloud with the cost-effectiveness and flexibility of a public cloud. That's why it's the most recommended type of cloud for most large enterprises. The vCloud Air public cloud allows you to create this ideal hybrid cloud environment. With vCloud Air, workloads can easily go in and out of the public cloud, and it's all run on a common cloud management platform so that you have one cloud for all applications. Clouds can offer different types of cloud services. Select each one for information. So, we've seen how virtual machines form the building blocks of the virtual infrastructure, which in its entirety includes server virtualization, network virtualization, and storage virtualization. Then we've seen how this virtual infrastructure essentially gives you a cloud, but that taking that cloud a few steps further with self-service and automation will provide the customer with the most powerful and efficient cloud possible. Also, we've seen the different cloud types and cloud services, and we mentioned how VMware offers all the options for customers to get the kind of cloud and cloud services that they need. But VMware also takes you beyond virtual infrastructure and cloud to a complete architecture for IT, and that is something we will look at in our next lesson.